Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me, because we're going to be talking about why people should be ashamed of using a forward-facing minnow and fuzzy dice for bass fishing. I know this is probably going to lose me a bunch of subscribers, but this is sort of one of those things that needs to get said, needs to be told out there. And I'm not just saying that, talking about those particular baits, but I'm talking about the bigger picture behind them. So we're going to have a discussion about that in today's video. Now guys, I'll tell you two baits that you are not ashamed to throw, no bass fisherman ever should be ashamed to throw, is a jig and a spinnerbait, guys. I'll link these two. These are my two favorites here. This is the Megabass SD3 spinnerbait, my Blaukat throwback jig. Jig and a spinnerbait is the epitome of real bass fishing, so never be ashamed about throwing those. Okay, now here's the thing about it, guys. I don't have any problem with like lure innovations, like the forward-facing sonar minnow or minnow or fuzzy dice. It's what they represent is the problem I have with it, and why people should be ashamed of using them in correlation with the cheater box. Now, I think it'd be great. It's like if you're going to take fuzzy dice and skip it underneath a boat dock, or if you're going to take a forward-facing minnow and throw it up next to a bridge pier or something like that, that's great. I don't have any prejudice against those lure categories. But unfortunately, the forward-facing minnow and the fuzzy dice are associated with the use of the cheater box, and this is where we run into a problem with that. Now, here's the thing about this. It's like these two lures have completely dominated and taken over the sport of fishing, and you're going to see it even more prevalent next year. Most every single tournament out there next year, on whatever level that you're going to be looking at, is going to get one on that forward-facing sonar minnow or fuzzy dice, or maybe a jerk bait in a some off-the-wall situation out there. And the thing about talking about this again, we can't ever normalize this association, because here's the analogy I want to try to draw with this thing. Because a lot of people, every time I talk about this, they say, Randy, you old dinosaur, give it up. You old grandpa, get out of your chair. Your time has passed, grandpa. Give it up, hang it up. You need to retire. I've heard all the bullshit that goes with it. But here's what the analogy I want to draw with it. I try to tie this into other sports so people can comprehend what we're actually talking about here. Let's say, for example, Major League Baseball. Somebody developed a set of glasses that, for whatever reason, this technological advancement with the set of glasses, when a pitcher threw a fastball, I don't care if it was a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, the glasses enabled the ball to come at them at a perceived much slower speed. So by putting these glasses on, when somebody threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, it would actually come to the plate, the perception to the batter, it would be that fastball is like a slow pitch softball. It's coming at you 20 miles an hour. And as a result, these guys are hitting 200 home runs a year, and they're getting 400 hits in a season like that. And people are going to say, some people are going to say that's the worst thing that ever happened about bass fishing, and you're taking away the tradition and the heritage of the sport and what all baseball is. And then you're going to have other people out there, like the cheater box, fanatics out there. They're going to say, oh, this is just the way it is. It's like all you guys that think you got to hit a baseball the normal way. You guys are grandpas, you're dinosaurs. This is the way of your future. Get over it. Your time has passed. All this type of stuff, and they're going to defend this piece of technology that has completely transformed the sport of baseball. So this may sound crazy, but guys, this is on the same level. It's like what forward-facing sonar, the forward-facing sonar minnow and the fuzzy dice has done to bass fishing. It's the same thing. What would happen if you had a pair of those glasses on that slowed a fastball down to 20 miles an hour? It's the same thing. It's a crutch. It's something. It's an artificial piece of technology that unfairly changes the sport, and that's exactly what's happened here. And I don't understand why 25% of the population out there has their heels dug into this. I don't understand their way of thinking with that, because most of the people that can't see beyond that, they don't really have a true appreciation for what bass fishing really is and the tradition and the heritage behind that. And one of the things about it, I've been watching some of those casts, Bassmasters had that that television series called The Cast, and it goes back and looks at the history of the sport and all that type of deal. This is what I'm talking about. It's like when you go back and look at how the sport of bass fishing was initially started and what the tradition and the heritage of the sport was, especially that part on there when they're talking about the White River cast segment on there. There's no place for technology in that. When you're talking about, the purity of bass fishing and what bass fishing means on every single level, when you start incorporating, you start adding technology into that, it just completely ruins everything. And that's what we've done. And inevitably it goes back to money, guys. And I am so sick of money right now. I'm so sick of the influence that money is having on our society, because we've all seen billionaires that have been buying our elections. We see the electronic companies that basically have coerced the tournament organizations, and their money has effectively removed the spines of the tournament organizations because of the subsidies they're giving the tournament organizations. Money from electronic companies, money from any type of big corporate interest or billionaires or millionaires that unduly and unfairly influence things it's dark, man, it's evil. And that is what we've seen on so many different segments of our society today, every single aspect of it. Money corrupts, power corrupts, and money and power are associated with the same things. And I have never seen one situation, guys, ever, when you give somebody too much money and you give somebody too much power, that leads to corruption. It doesn't matter if it's fishing, politics, business, whatever it is. That's the reality of the situation. So anyway, I know we got off topic a little bit, but the point of the video, guys, is just resist the forward-facing sonar minnow and the fuzzy dice, or don't use it with forward-facing sonar. That's the whole thing about it. There's nothing wrong with those two lures when they're used in a pure form, but when you use those in correlation with the forward-facing sonar minnow, it's an insult to the bass, it's an insult to the sport, it's an insult to yourself. And here's the thing about it, it's like this whole forward-facing minnow type of thing, a lot of you guys may not have been around when the Demiki rig came out. Now, when that Demiki rig came out, which was sort of a forerunner to the forward-facing sonar minnow that we see today, the technique that those guys used with the Demiki rig is a lot of them out there, they would just get out on traditional bass fishing there. They get out on ledges, they get out on deep points, and they would fish that Demiki rig vertical without even seeing the fish. They were using it in correlation with two-dimensional sonar, basically fishing hard structure, like brush piles, rock piles, drops. They pitch that minnow out there, let it go to the bottom, and sort of stroll along the bottom, not really knowing if there was any fish there. And that is what fishing is there, guys. That is what fishing is you fish to find the fish. You don't rely on an umbilical cord and a piece of artificial technology to tell you, like a kindergartner, where to cast to. And if somebody can't, here's the thing that I don't understand. Let's say, for example, we go out and we're fishing this main lake point out there. Now, a traditional real bass fisherman would have to look at that point and assess the angle of the point, assess the water clarity on the point, sunlight conditions, the way the wind's coming in it, and determine the best technique for that. They have no clue if there's a fish on that point. You have to fish to find out if there's fish on that point. That is what fishing is. But when you pull up to the next person pulls up to that same spot with the cheater box, and they scan that point with the transducer out there without even having any thought of the water clarity or any other variable around them. They're totally glued to that box, looking if there's any sign of life on there before they even cast to it. That, guys, if you don't fundamentally understand how screwed up that is and how messed up that is and what an insult to everything the sport stands for then your worldview on fishing is simply not in line with the reality on that. So again, I would encourage everybody out there, of course, obviously, to resist using the cheater box. That's in the bigger picture, but just don't get caught up in that, man. Don't get caught up in getting sucked into using fuzzy dice and forward-facing sonar minnow, and that's your game plan. You don't have nothing else. You go to the lake, put your live scope in the water, you scan around, you've got 2 spinning rods with a minnow on it and a fuzzy dice, and that's your deal. That's what bass fishing is. you're missing out on so much and contributing to the destruction of the sport and the bigger picture with that. So anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think about it. We'll talk later. See you.